Michelle Obama said, and I quote, "No country can ever truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of its contribution of half of its citizens." A very good morning to everyone present. I, Chinmaya, a student of fourth year BA LLB, on behalf of CMR University School of Legal Studies, extend a hearty welcome to all the dignitaries who have joined us today for the celebration of International Women's Day by the Center for Justice and Law. As we all know, gender is one among many inequalities that have plagued our social system for centuries. The current status of women and the challenges the society faces are linked to the deep-rooted existence of gender inequality in our lives. International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also marks for the call to action for accelerating gender parity. Significant activity is witnessed worldwide as groups come together to celebrate women's achievements or rally for women's equality. Marked annually on March 8th, International Women's Day is one of the most important days of the year to celebrate women's achievements, raise awareness about women's equality, lobby for accelerated gender parity, and fundraise for female-focused charities. The UN campaign theme for International Women's Day 2021 is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in the COVID-19 World. This year's International Women's Day is like no other. As countries and communities start to slowly recover from the devastating pandemic, we had the chance to finally end the exclusion and marginalization of women and girls. With this, we will formally begin the celebrations, for which I would like to invite Divya Mishra, a student of fourth year BALB, to render the Invocation Song.
Good morning to all of you. Jaya 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 He Veena Pani, Jaya Jaya He Veena Pani, Shiv Kalyani Matu Bhavani, Shiv Kalyani Matu Bhavani, Jaya 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 He Veena Pani, Sapt Surup Deep Jala De, Sapt Surup Deep Jala De, Rom Rom Sangeet Saja De, Rom Rom Sangeet Saja De, Jaya 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 He Veena Pani, Jaya 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 He Veena Pani, Veena Pani, Veena Pani. Thank you.
Thank you, Divya. I would now like to call upon Dr. Valamati Ma'am, Coordinator for the Center for Gender Justice and Law, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning. It gives me immense pleasure to invite you all to the first program of our Center for Gender, Justice and Law, which was inaugurated on 27 February 2001 by Professor Dr. Shashikala Gurupur, Director, Symbiosis Law School, Pune. I would like to welcome Honorable Mrs. Justice Makimane Ganeshaya Uma, who, in spite of her busy schedule, was kind enough to accept our invitation to be chief guest for International Women's Day program, which is celebrated today. I, on behalf of CMR Management and CMR School of Legal Studies, extend a hearty welcome to you, Madam. I would like to extend a warm welcome to Shimadi Changapa, Advocate, High Court of Karnataka, who is the guest of honor for today's function and who has agreed to deliver a speech on status of women and protection of their rights. I welcome you, Madam. I would like to welcome our beloved Dr. Dean, Dr. Subramania, who will preside over today's program. I would like to welcome all the deans and directors of all schools in CMR University. I further extend a warm welcome to our chairman, chancellor, members of board of management, and administrators of universities. I welcome Vice Principal of CMR School of Legal Studies, Professor Praneshwaran, faculties of CMR School of Legal Studies, and all my dear students. I once again welcome one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. I would now like to call upon Vibha, a student of 4th year BLLB, to introduce our chief guest, Honorable Mrs. Justice Makimani Ganeshaya Uma, Judge, High Court of Karnataka.
Thank you, Chinmay. A very good morning to one and all. Honorable Mrs. Justice Makimane Ganeshaya Uma is currently serving as a judge at the High Court of Karnataka. Ma'am has completed her BCom graduation from Mysore University, LLB from Bangalore University, and LLM from the Kuvempu University. Ma'am has practiced as an advocate in various districts of Karnataka, including Udupi, Gadag, and Bengaluru. Ma'am's areas of practice include both civil as well as criminal matters. Uma ma'am was selected as a district judge in the month of February 2008. Since then, ma'am has served as an additional district judge at Mysore, principal district judge at Ballari, Mangalore, and Ramanagara, and a member of Secretary of Karnataka State Legal Service Authority, Bengaluru. Ma'am, on the 4th of May 2020, was elevated to the position of the Judge of High Court of Karnataka. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you, Vibha. I now request ma'am to kindly address the gathering.
Thank you. A pleasant morning to you all. Professor Dr. T.R. Subramanya, President of the function, Mrs. Anu Changapa, the guest of honor, Professor V.J. Praneshwaran, Vice Principal, Dr. D. Valramati, Coordinator, all the invitees, faculty members, and my dear students. The world is celebrating International Women's Day 2021 with all its grandeur. CMR University School of Legal Studies, Bengaluru, a prestigious institution, is also celebrating this event. I am happy to be part of this memorable day, which is made eventful. I wish you all a very happy International Women's Day 2021. As you all know, United Nations declared the theme of the Women's Day 2021 as the Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 world. It is meant to celebrate the tremendous efforts by women and girls around the world in shaping a more equal future and recovery from COVID-19 pandemic, and highlight the gaps that remain. Generally, the question will arise as to why the Women's Day is to be celebrated. It is the day to spread awareness among the people regarding women's rights and about gender equality, and also to create gender sensitivity. History tells us it was on 28/2/1908, government workers held a strike in New York where thousands of women protested against their working conditions. They demanded equal pay for equal work. Thereafter, the Women's Day is being observed or celebrated to highlight the difficulties the women are facing and to seek its redressal or to showcase their achievements. It is an occasion worldwide to sensitize the citizens about the role that is being played by us. After more than a century, we are in 2021 and still we see women struggling for friendly working atmosphere and also for equality. It is said total population of India is about 138 crore as per UN data. The sex ratio of the total population is about 108 males per 100 females. In Karnataka, our population is nearing 7 crore. The sex ratio in our state is 973 males as against 965 females. So we constitute almost 50% of the population. The percentage of the women working has considerably increased. Still, the earning of the women is less when compared to their male counterparts. We have great achievers amongst us in various fields. You know, more than 25 Indian Americans are in Biden's team in America, and many of them are women. Even the Vice President Kamala Harris is having Indian origin. I may mention about Swati Mohan, an Indian American aerospace engineer who grabbed the attention of the world, being a part of NASA Mars 2020 mission and was in charge of guidance and controls operations lead. The President of America explained the contribution by Indian Americans as incredible honor. We have Gita Gopinath, an economist, a fiscal scholar from Kerala. She is the first Indian woman to assume the position of chief economist at International Monetary Fund. We can name Hima Das from Assam, who is the first Indian athlete to win gold in IAAF, World Under-20 Athletics Championship 2018. She won 5 gold medals in 20 days. Mary Kom from Manipur is an Indian Olympic boxer. Avni Chaturvedi, a sky warrior, she is a young Indian Air Force officer and the first Indian woman fighter pilot to fly MiG-21. Bison Solo, which has highest takeoff and landing speed in the world, that is about 340 kilometers per hour. We may also recollect the historic moment achieved by our women pilots recently, that is on 12/1/2021. Air India's largest direct route flight with all women pilots, pilot team who are 5 in number, landed in Kempegoda International Airport, Bengaluru from San Francisco, flying over the North Pole and covering a distance of about 16,000 kilometers. Air India Captain Zoya Agarwal commanded the flight. It took 17 hours non-stop flying to reach Bengaluru from San Francisco. These are all few achievements which make us to feel proud. These few references prove that we are second to none. We can prove ourselves and reach new heights in a given situation. There are lakhs and crores of Indian women who are unsung heroines in their own fields. They continue to struggle in life, but motivate their children and others to achieve something. At this juncture, I may refer to the Constitution of India, which is considered as the mother of all laws. It is said that ours is longest written constitution, which was adopted in 1950. Article 14 to 16 of Constitution of India enshrine the principles of equality and absence of discrimination. While Article 14 extends to all persons, Articles 15 and 16 prohibit discrimination amongst citizens on any specified grounds. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. But Article 15(3) enables the state to make special provisions for women and children. When we talk of Article 15(3) of our Constitution, I may refer to Section 437 of Code of Criminal Procedure, which deals with release of a person accused or suspected of commission of any non-bailable offense. The proviso appended to this section permits release of such person if she is a woman, etc. This provision was called in question before the courts as it is inconsistent with Article 15 of the Constitution, which prohibits discrimination on the ground of sex. But considering the language employed in Article 15(3) of the Constitution of India, where the state is empowered to make any special provision for women, it is held that the proviso to Section 437 of CRPC is not ultra vires of the Constitution. Even though we talked about equality and special provision for women, the question arises as to whether we could achieve such equality in true sense of term in all these years. I would like to highlight few instances to understand the long battle the women are fighting to achieve such equality. Hindu Succession Act 1956 has amended and codified the law relating to intestate succession among Hindus. Section 6 of the Act deals with devolution of interest of a male Hindu in co-custody property and recognizes the rule of devolution by survivorship among the members of the co-custody. Even though it is projected as the daughter is also entitled for equal rights over the property, it was only in the self-acquired property of her father, but not in his ancestral property. She was not considered as a co-partner to claim equal right over such property. This discrimination continued in Section 6 of Hindu Succession Act 1956 is proposed to be removed by Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. It came into effect from 9/9/2005. But by virtue of the amended Section 6, the daughter will become a co-partner by birth and she is placed on par with the son. She is having equal rights in the co-partner property as well as the liabilities in respect of such property. Therefore, now any reference to a Hindu Mitakshara co-partner will include a daughter. Even though this amendment was brought into effect, the question as to whether the amendment is prospective or retrospective is debated endlessly with the divergent findings to that effect. Finally, it is in Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma. This controversy is set at rest by the Honorable Apex Court by declaring that the amendment giving the status of co-partner to the daughter is retrospective in effect and not prospective. Now let us consider the approach in determining the compensation in road traffic accident claim cases. In such cases where compensation is determined for the death or injury of a person, generally it is assumed that a woman homemaker does not earn. She is not employed or she is considered as unemployed. So her notional income could not be more than 1/3 of the income of the person earning, even though it has no rational basis. This categorization has been made without appreciating the value of the services rendered by the homemaker. When we speak about just compensation, time spent by women in doing household work as homemaker is to be taken into consideration, as it is the time which they can devote to paid work or to their education. This lack of sensitivity and non-recognition of their work mainly contributes to women's high rate of poverty and their oppression in the society. Gradually, the courts are considering these factors in assessing the compensation for housewives who are victims of road traffic accidents. Honorable Supreme Court, way back in 2010, suggested to the Parliament to rethink this aspect of the matter and suitably amend the provisions of the Motor Vehicles Act and other related laws for giving compensation. We may also consider one more aspect relating to women as a category serving in the defense. The discrimination on the ground of sex was justified by the Ministry of Defense, founded on physical strengths and weaknesses of men and women, and on assumptions about women in social context of marriage and family, even though it do not constitute valid basis under the Constitution for denying opportunity to women officers serving in the defense. Restriction was imposed on women officers for granting permanent commissions. In a quest for equality of opportunity for women seeking posts in Indian Army, series of writ petitions were filed questioning the same since 2003. Several years were spent in litigation by those women engaged on short service commissions in the army to seek parity with their male counterparts in obtaining posts. Section 12 of the Army Act 1950, reads about the inability of females for enrollment or employment in the regular army, and it states no female should be eligible for such enrollment or employment. However, notifications were being issued periodically by the central government, making the women eligible for appointments as officers only in specific branches or cadres of the army. This question was considered by the Honorable Apex Court in Babita Punia. Article 14, 15.1 and 16.1 of Constitution of India were discussed at length, and it is held that absolute bar on women seeking criteria or command appointments would not comport with guarantee of equality under Article 14. The Honorable Apex Court held that all serving women officers on short service commissions shall be considered for grant of permanent commissions irrespective of their passing 14 or 20 years of service. It is a beautiful judgment where ultimately it is held that there is no reason or justification for excluding women from permanent commissions, and several directions were issued to the Union government. Even though I can quote several such instances and highlight the struggle and achievements of our women at large, due to paucity of time, I have to pause here. I know I am interacting with law students. We should understand that we are fortunate and are in better position and are having protective environment. My appeal to young brains is to consider these points highlighted by me on this occasion. You can also think with your innovative ideas to bring about changes in the lives of those unfortunate women folks who are struggling for their rights and even for their existence. When you come out as law graduates, think of doing something for the betterment of such women who are like your mother or sisters. I am grateful to the opportunity extended to me to share my few thoughts with you all. I am afraid as to whether I could contribute and do justice to the event that is organized. I am happy to know that CMR University School of Studies is now having a Center for Gender Justice and Law, which organized this program. Gender justice is a vast subject. I am sure the guest speaker, Mrs. Changapa, will highlight its various facets. I am also thankful to Professor T.R. Subramania, Dean of the University, who insisted me to accept this responsibility of addressing the young friends. I am hopeful that few points highlighted by me will provide food for your thoughts and may result in addressing the disparity in the society and celebrating the achievements by women. Before concluding, I should say, we the women at times may stand second, but I am reminded of a quote, and I quote, "Winning does not always mean being first." With these words, I once again thank all of you and wish you all happy International Women's Day. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for those words of wisdom. I would now like to call upon Vibha to introduce our guest of honor, Shimadi Changapa, Advocate, High Court of Karnataka.
Thank you, Chinmay. Once again, good morning to one and all. Shrimati P. Changapa is currently practicing as an advocate in the trial courts, tribunals, and the High Court of Karnataka. Ma'am's area of practice includes human rights, environmental law, family law, property law, land acquisition, laws pertaining to local and statutory bodies, special statute offences under criminal law, and PIL. Ma'am holds a BAL LLB degree from the University Law College, Bengaluru, and an LLM in environmental law from the Bangalore University. Ma'am was awarded Karnataka's Best Legal Service Award in the year 2008 by the SL Group and Z Network. She was also featured in the magazine Australian Lawyers as one of the 5th rising stars in the Australian Asian region. Ma'am has won the Best Participant Award in the year 1996 and 1997 in Model Lok Sabha competition held for Bangalore University colleges. Ma'am has participated in many conferences and seminars and also has presented papers on various subjects. To name a few, working of constitutional functionaries, shortcomings and solutions at the Karnataka State Commission of Jurists, rights of a girl child, a reality check at the national seminar by the All India Legal Service Authority and All India Federation of Women Lawyers and Women Lawyers Association, Judicial Accountability and National Judicial Appointment Commission at the national seminar hosted by Karnataka section of International Commission of Jurists. Ma'am also has a number of publications to her name. Ma'am's career span is inclusive of a number of endeavors in various fields. She has served as a faculty member at the University Law College, Bangalore. Ma'am has served as a lake warden under the Lake Development Authority of Karnataka. She has also worked with NGOs on issues with respect to human rights, environment, and legal awareness. Ma'am was a trustee at Advocates Academy, Bangalore. She was a former secretary at International Commission of Jurists, Karnataka chapter. Changapa ma'am is currently the president at Lahiri Advocates Forum and a trustee at Lahiri Law Academy. She is also the founder secretary of Sexual Harassment Complaints and Redressal Committee, Karnataka State Bar Council. Ma'am also delivers lectures to judicial trainees and government officers. Apart from the prior mentioned accomplishments in the legal field, ma'am also holds a strong passion for trekking, Carnatic music, and also is an accomplished hockey player. We welcome you, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt. I seek indulgence from the chair. If can I take leave, sir? It is already 10:30, so I take leave. Thank you. Sorry, Mrs. Changapa. Sorry, I could not hear you.
I totally understand, ma'am. Pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Vibha. May I now request ma'am to kindly share a few words.
Thank you. Honorable respected Shrimati N.G. Uma, Justice N.G. Uma, Professor T.R. Subramaniam, Professor Praneshwaran, and Professor Valarmati, and faculty and dear students of CMR, Institute of Legal Studies. Thank you very much for remembering me on the occasion of this event. And it's a pleasure to be interacting with you all. Of course, given a choice, I'm someone who believes in an interactive session rather than a monologue, because for me, occasions like these are learning experiences, because I'm so interested in understanding your perspectives of whatever we talk. So hopefully towards the end of my talk, we will have a little interactive session where I would want to know what you have to say and what your thought processes are on the topic of our discussion today. In the meantime, what I will do is I will restrict myself to about 30 to 35 minutes and hopefully cover as much as I can on a topic which requires, believe me, months and years to discuss threadbare. My task has been made very easy by Honorable Justice Uma in terms of listing out the legal provisions and some of the important precedents pertaining to empowerment of women. So what I will do is I will try and in a nutshell, give a picture of the reality of how these laws work and their implementation in terms of the actual mechanisms that we have to invoke when it comes to these laws. To begin with, when we are talking about empowerment of women, we are talking about two main streams of law, which is criminal jurisprudence and civil jurisprudence. And most of the special statutes for protection of women and all the IPC offenses like rape and battery, assault, now sexual harassment after the 2013 amendment come under IPC, and invariably you have the police station as the point of setting the judicial mechanism into action. Now, even before we get into the police station, even before understanding what the laws are and how they work, we must understand the level of awareness of the laws in the citizenry. Now, all of us here staying in urban centers like Bangalore, we probably have access to internet. I'm told 60% of the Indian population is not accessible. I mean, internet is not accessible to them, and they're totally cut off from the netizen world. And for the rest of them who are interacting, illiteracy is still a very, very tangible problem in our country. And if you're looking at the remotest reaches of our country, which is where these laws are really, really needed, we have citizens who are not even aware that these laws exist. In fact, there is one study which says that as far as legal awareness is concerned, especially in the rural areas, 85 to 90% are not even aware of what the laws are. And they're not even bothered about it because in their simple day to day existence, it doesn't matter. The courts don't exist, law does not exist. And there is still a lot of taboo when it comes to approaching a police station or the court of law. So much for all the principles and precedents that we keep discussing and dissecting. The common man who really needs those laws and precedents is not even aware of it. And very often, what we consider as ill treatment of women is normal practice for the women concerned because they're not even aware that they're not being treated with dignity and decency. So, that is the kind of mindset that we are looking at, and that is the kind of lack of awareness that we are looking at. There are also times, especially in today's world, where almost every word and action seems to be getting interpreted in a particular way. I also wonder at times whether we are oversensitized for our own good, where every word, which probably means nothing but what the word should mean, is interpreted and there are reading between lines, etc. And sometimes I do feel that ignorance is bliss. And sometimes I feel those counterparts of ours in the rural areas are definitely better, not knowing too many complications that can be created with various interpretations. Anyways, that's on a lighter vein. But what we must understand is legal awareness is as good as not existing in most parts of our country. So when we are not aware of our rights, there is no question of approaching any institution for administration of justice or implementation of our rights. Let's keep that on one side. Now let's look at that portion of the population which basically knows something about what is right or wrong under the law of the land. Now, even amongst the literate, when I'm talking literate, I'm talking about legally literate people who are aware of their rights. They approach the police station. Now, a standard situation that all of us face is invariably the jurisdictional police station refuses to lodge your complaint. Take your letter of complaint. I'm not even talking about an FIR, a first information report, because the minute they take a complaint, that means they have to do something in that case. And it could be lethargy, it could be sheer lack of motivation that they don't want to take a complaint because that means they have to work. Or it also may be a situation where they're so overburdened that they feel that they have enough on their plate and they cannot take one more case onto their plate. So invariably, in a city like Bangalore, it's a very, very normal affair for us advocates to keep sending litigants or prospective complainants to the commissioner's office, the inspector, police inspectors, the commissionerate on Infantry Road that we have. We send the litigants there, and they, from the commissioner's office, call up the police station, the jurisdictional police station, and tell them to take the complaint. And then, they actually take your letter of complaint. Now, once the letter of complaint is taken, they will look into it, and invariably there is something called an NCR, which is a non-cognizable report, which is filed. And very often there ends the matter. They don't go beyond that. They will try and get both the sides to mediate, and they will try to, though this is beyond the jurisdiction of the police personnel, they do this. And it goes without saying that corruption is a reality which we cannot avoid or ignore. So a whole lot of unnecessary practices happen in the police station. So after all this, let's say finally a case does get registered, an FIR is filed, and then the matter finally lands up at the portals of the Court of Justice. So we have a magistrate and we have a public prosecutor who is handling these cases. because IPC offenses are not just considered as offenses against the individual concerned. These are considered as offenses against the state. So the state steps in as the guardian and protector of the right of the victim, and it is the state through the public prosecutor that prosecutes the offender. Now, coming from the complainant's point of view, when it is the state public prosecutor, let us remember in a normal court of law, a woman's issue is not the only issue before the judge. There are various kinds of offenses that a court of law tries, except for maybe special courts like the POCSO courts. We do not have special courts for women related offenses. In fact, there's a huge cry now to say we should have special courts for offenses pertaining to women. But as of now, except for the POCSO courts, we do not have those kind of courts available. So any offense pertaining to a woman under IPC comes into the mainstream of the criminal offenses before a normal criminal court. So right from theft to robbery to murder to assault to everything, rape and sexual harassment also becomes one amongst the many offenses. And if we are looking at a situation where we say no, priority should be given to women's issues, let us look at the situation of the judge concerned. On a given day, a judge is trying, especially in metropolitan areas like Bangalore, a judge is trying not less than 80 to 100 cases of different offenses and for different stages. And we have evidence, we have arguments. These are the stages where a lot of time is consumed. So in this given situation, chronology invariably becomes a factor. So there is always emphasis on the older cases being disposed of fast. So there are a whole lot of these practicalities that come into the picture. So once the court takes cognizance of the offense, once the trial begins, it becomes like any other offense, left to the pros and cons of the court administration. There may be transfer of judges. There may be instances. In fact, we are short of hands when it comes to our presiding officers. There are also constant transfers. So there are instances where court halls are not having presiding officers, and some of the other courts have to act as in-charge courts. So along with their 80-90 cases, they also have to run through the 80-90 cases of another court which does not have a presiding officer. So just look at the sheer volume of work that one single judge has to handle. And let us remember, no matter how dedicated a judge is, all of us are human beings. We have our human limitations too. And we all talk about justice delayed is justice denied, but then we also have a situation where justice hurried is justice buried. So it is very tough to handle the priority of cases in a typical criminal court. Now that comes as far as the judges are concerned in the criminal situation, in a criminal case situation. And invariably the complainant is also not able to have much of a say with the prosecutor, because the prosecutor is also engaged with all the other cases that he or she has to try in that particular case. So of course, there is a provision in CRPC, where with the permission of the court, we can have our own private counsels to assist the public prosecutor, or we can also have special public prosecutors. But not many are able to afford that kind of legal help. So invariably, the woman who is the complainant has to wait for her turn in the court of justice. Now let's come to a situation where the complainant, the victim, is able to have a counsel of her own. And now I'm talking about civil jurisprudence. And I'm now talking about family matters. We have maintenance, we have guardianship of children, we have custody cases, all that in the family court. Now, again, let us understand that the laws and the system are a reflection of society itself. About 10-15 years ago, we had just one family court in the city civil court premises. And it was a rarity for advocates to have any matter pertaining to family issues in their office. Whereas now, even if an advocate does not want to handle family matters, one invariably lands up with family matters, because that is the volume of family matters which are coming before the courts of law. It could be divorce, it could be, as I said, custody, guardianship, maintenance, all this. Again, when we come here, again, we have the same problem in terms of overburdened courts and paucity of time. And no matter what we do, we have to go with the chronology of cases, and we are subject to the convenience of the courts. And we cannot blame anyone for this, because that is how the system is working. We have, and I am talking about just about 3 to 4% of the overall population, which actually is coming before the court. Just imagine if we have a population which suddenly becomes aware of their rights, and we have about even 40 to 50% coming to the courts. I am afraid we will not be able to handle that kind of volume of cases. So this is how we work as far as the courts of law are concerned. And then we come to the advocates themselves. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. So just like how we have judges who are overworked, we also have advocates who have too many cases to handle. In today's situation, an advocate is not, there are advocates, I am not saying no, but by and large, there are advocates who are handling all kinds of matters and not exclusively women matters. And again, priority goes in terms of what an advocate feels is important at that particular point of time. Because for an advocate, every client is as important as the other. So this is the ground reality. And today we are faced with an added burden of not having good qualitative legal assistance in the form of junior members of the bar. And that is a qualitative dearth, which is having a huge impact on the administration of justice itself. So now we have a situation where even the senior most advocates are going for the most basic of things before the courts of law, because we are not able to find juniors who are able to ably assist us in terms of qualitative work. We find that fresh law graduates are not able to even draft a memo properly. They're not able to make a simple submission. And that is where an already burdened advocate is further burdened with work which should otherwise have been done by a junior colleague of his or him. Now, this is how the situation works. Now, let us say we finish this entire process in court. Invariably, especially in the family courts, we have a situation where the litigants are so tired coming to court time and again. They say, let us just finish this off one way or the other. We can't keep coming day in and day out like this. And that is where we have mediation. In fact, mediation has turned out to be quite a panacea, especially in family matters. And but for mediation, I don't know how much more substantial the docket explosion would have been. So let us say we have a situation where the woman finally gets a positive order from the court. Let's say she gets an order for awarding of maintenance. And maybe the first 2 or 3 months, she will get her maintenance. But fourth or fifth month onwards, if the husband does not pay maintenance, there is another round of litigation that starts in terms of what we call as execution proceedings. If the husband is not traceable, just tracing the husband becomes an ordeal. And if the husband has lost his job, you can't really ask him for something where he does not possess income to provide. And there are so many such ifs and buts that come. So in fact, we say getting the court order is only the beginning of the real battle, because the real battle starts for the implementation of the court order. Elsewhere, we also have contempt of court proceedings. So it is, I wouldn't say the system, it's probably the procedure also which contributes to it, where overall one needs a lot of tenacity and commitment as an advocate to handhold a litigant throughout this process and say, don't worry, you will get justice. And believe me, it is easier said than done, because here is a litigant who has already gone through a certain experience, and the court should not become a further burden for her. But that is how we are working. Why I'm saying this is, when we are understanding laws and precedents as students of law, we must also understand the practicalities involved in the actual implementation. And today, if you ask me, we have the best laws possible, the best precedents possible in the world. In fact, there are many countries which are taking our laws as a reference point and drafting their own laws in and around what our laws speak. But when it comes to implementation, because of the ground realities, we have a long way to go. So, as I said, mediation has emerged as a panacea in many ways, because A, you're saving time, and B, there is no second round because everything is settled amicably. There is no second round of litigation, and that much of animosity and that much of burden on the court is reduced. Now, again, as students of law, let us understand courts are supposed to be the last resort. Unfortunately, most of us don't seem to be understanding that as students of law, because today we find the young law graduates coming out of law school are looking more at the profession as a profit oriented approach. You know, the profession of law is still about serving society. It is still about striving for justice. It is still about helping those who are looking for justice to get justice. So we have a situation where we have the younger members of the bar coming with a whole and soul motive of profit. Hopefully, those of you in the audience today will not come with that motive. It is not bad to expect some remuneration for the services rendered. It is very practical. I don't say no, but let us try not to make that the only purpose of joining the profession. If that is the purpose of joining the profession, I would request, please do not join this profession. This profession is not meant for that. Yes, there is a corporate world. There are so many avenues for a young law graduate to make fast bucks. Please go there. Please do not join litigation, because litigation is all about serving the litigants. It's all about striving for justice. And incidentally, you will get profits, but you need to wait. A lot of patience is required. A lot of learning goes into it. And we are packing 48 into 24 hours into 7. That is the kind of commitment that is required. And only if we feel we can put in that kind of passion and commitment, only then should we come into this profession. Okay, so this is how the implementation mechanism works. That is one part of it. Now let us talk about mindsets. I was talking about social norms. I was talking about constant change in mindsets and how society is evolving. And that is where our courts are very, very crucial, because our courts are ensuring that the laws are interpreted as per the existing norms in society. So let us go to the very basic foundation of all these gender empowerment laws, which is Article 14, Article 15.3, which says special provisions can be made for women and children. And then, of course, we have all these special statutes that are there in place. Okay, so to begin with, Article 14 today is not about giving special privileges to women. We are today in a situation where a woman, whether she's literate or illiterate, is bold enough to say that I have certain rights as a human being. Please identify me as a human being. Don't put me on a pedestal and treat me like a goddess, because I'm not a goddess. We are also quite prone to failing and falling. We are as human as you are. Don't put us on a pedestal. Don't give us privileges. Just treat us as equals. We have been behind you all these days. We want to be beside you today. Now, that is something which is not acceptable for the male population in our country. There are a lot of exceptions. When I'm saying this, I see a lot of progressive gentlemen who are actually helping in the cause of women. In fact, a lot of feminine activists are men today, and it is so heartening to see that. Earlier there used to be a situation whenever a woman's issue was being discussed, invariably men were conspicuous by their absence in the audience. And I would always wonder, what is the point of women discussing their own issues, which we know anyways? It is the other half that needs to know what we are going through. And somewhere that kind of a revolution has happened, and a lot of sensitization has taken place today. But still there is an undercurrent. Again, I am not referring to the cosmopolitan or the urban population of our country. I am again going back to the rural populations of our country. So we have women who are quite empowered in their own way and are willing to come out and say, I want this, I need this, I will do this. But there is a male population which is not able to digest a successful woman. I'm not even talking about a successful woman, an independent woman, a woman who can do things by herself. And it is this mindset that we really need to change and deal with. And that brings us to another aspect of our duties as students of law. As students of law, we are also supposed to be social engineers. As lawyers, we're supposed to be social engineers, where we are trying to mold and shape what society thinks. It is not enough that the laws are progressive. What really matters is the society accepting those laws. Something similar to what Professor Hart says, the inner morality of law. We need the citizenry to accept the path breaking precedents that are being rendered time and again by our courts of law. So it is changing these mindsets that is really the real challenge today in our country. So again, I see this as a generational thing. We have older generations which are less open to seeing women being different from the stereotypical roles. We still subconsciously have a certain picture of what a woman should be or should not be. And by and large, we predominantly, when I say we, I'm not referring to men, I'm referring to women too. All of us are equally guilty when we are having stereotypical impressions about women. So we still feel that predominantly the role of a woman is in the house, and incidentally she can pursue her career, which is not really the case. Today's woman is as career oriented, if not more career oriented, as her male counterpart. And today we need to accept a woman for who she is as an individual. In fact, when we deal with sexual harassment at workplace complaints, the Honorable Supreme Court has given us a guideline where they say, treat every woman as an individual in her own right. Don't treat women as a class. What is good for one woman need not be good for another. Individually understand a woman. That is what we need to understand today. Very often we have ourselves comparing a woman to how my mother was, how my sister is, how my daughter was, how my wife is. No, each wife, daughter, mother, sister has her own unique role to play in one's life. Do not compare and contrast one to the other. If we are able to develop a mindset where we accept a woman for just who she is, understand what she wants, believe me, 80% of these gender issues will not exist. Very often, all these frictions arise because we have a stereotypical expectation which may not be practical in today's world, and especially for that woman concerned. And when we don't find that woman coming into that stereotype, then we start branding women, we start treating women in a particular way, and we start denigrating a woman, and we start irritating a woman. And then one thing leads to the other, and all kinds of offenses happen. So, what we really need to understand is the root cause or the root change that has to happen is in terms of our mindsets and perceptions of women. So when we're talking of Article 14, as I said, we are only talking about treat a woman as an equal partner of a man and nothing more. Then comes Article 21. Article 21, right to life, whatever is basic for a person to live with basic human dignity is what Article 21 talks about. Again, treat a woman as a human being, not as an object to render service, not as a yardstick, not as someone who has to, cater to what I think is right or wrong. She is a human being in her own right. In fact, today, gender issue is not a man woman issue at all. It is about one human being understanding another human being to be a human being. That's what it is all about. And I also want to add another interesting aspect. Article 21, the courts have interpreted right to privacy as a part of Article 21. And we have any number of judgments where we say a victim of crime, a woman, a victim of gender crime, should not, her identity should not be disclosed. But today in the profession, we are noticing a very interesting aspect. Most of these victims come to us and say, Madam, I want the whole world to know what I have gone through. I want my photo to be seen. I want people to identify me. It is the person who has done it to me who has to hide. He has to be ashamed of what he has done. Why should I be ashamed of myself? Why should I run away? Why should I hide from society? And believe me, I'm so inspired when I see such gutsy women. They are not victims anymore. They are becoming crusaders against those perpetrators. And I think that is what we are really looking at when we're looking at gender empowerment, where the woman tells herself, I am not going to be treated like this. I am not a victim of circumstances. I will show you what I can do. That is real empowerment. And that is what I think all of us have to strive towards, rather than mollycoddling and protecting a woman. It is not good for a woman anymore. In fact, today it's very interesting in the family courts. We have women asking for divorce, not because they're being ill treated in their matrimonial home, but because they're being overprotected. And they say, we feel suffocated. I'm not allowed to do anything at home. I'm not allowed to cook. I just have to sit there like a doll. I can't. I'm a very talented person. I'm capable of so many things. I feel suffocated. I feel my skills, I feel my talents are being wasted. I don't want to be in this relationship. So somewhere there is an overdoing of patronizing and protection also happening. So that is also something that we need to keep in mind. As I said, I'm saying all this because I just want us to be a little updated on the current trends and mindsets that we are noticing in society. And then coming to domestic violence and coming to the issue of maintenance. Today, a lot of women are not asking for maintenance, not because they are economically independent. Yes, one factor is, yes, most of the women are self-employed. They are quite capable of earning 2 square meals a day. But more than that, there is a sense of dignity and self-respect. They say, I don't want the money of a man who's treated me like this. I will stay without a one meal. I will just live on one meal rather than 3 meals, but I don't want that man's money. So contrary to what people think, that women are gold diggers, women are filing maintenance applications or domestic violence cases because they want money. No, that is not the attitude. In domestic violence cases, women do ask for money. Why? Not because they want the money, because they say, money is the only language the man understands. And I want to pinch him, I want to hurt him where it really pains him. So I will ask for his money. So it is more for that than anything. I have known women who've taken money and given it off in charity, saying that I have taught him his lesson and I'm happy with it. So these are some of the trends that we are seeing. And then coming to divorce matters, um, we have instances where people, after their 50 or 60th year of existence, where all their children have settled, are opting for divorce by mutual consent. uh, I know all of us are born with this impression of marriage being a very sacred commitment, sacrosanct for life. And we have the Hindu philosophy saying, seven janmas we should have the same spouse, God help. But anyways, so today we have a situation where men and women are being very practical. They say up to our 50 years or 60 years together, we have sacrificed our individual interests for our children. And now we realize, as a couple, we don't really have much in common. So now we want to go our own separate ways and live our lives for ourselves. And of course, this is again a little urban oriented approach, but this is also happening. So when a woman is asking for divorce, it is not necessarily because she is a victim in that marriage. It's also because she has opted to go out on her own. There are also instances where adult children come to me and say, ma'am, my mother has gone through enough. My father has treated her very badly. Now we are all independent and we're able to take care of her. Please convince her to get rid of my father. We want her to have some peace till her last breath, at least now onwards. It's a different issue that the mother is not really interested. The mother says, prime of my youth is lost and the worst is over, so I don't see any point in coming out of this relationship. But then we have a situation where women, where children, and here it is not urban, even rural areas, there are children who are coming and saying, please save our mother, please help our mother from this man. So these are all a little contrary to the stereotypical understanding that we have of a woman being victimized. There is a lot of social support for the woman today. And I always say this is the right time to be a woman in India, because the laws and the courts are entirely her protection mechanism. It is just that the woman herself has to understand what she is capable of. The woman herself has to feel empowered enough. Now, when I say empowered enough, it does not mean that I go and say, I'm a woman, so this is my right and that is my right, do this and do that. If I can quote a dialogue from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So as women, we also need to understand we have all these laws and rights in our favor. Let us not misuse it. Unfortunately, another reality we have to understand today as students of law is most of these empowering legislations are not reaching the actual victims. But bad enough, what is worse is those who are approaching the courts through these legislations tend to misuse. I wouldn't say majority, I would say a substantial portion. Now, what happens is once a judicial officer or a judge, now again, it's just a human tendency. If I am a judge and I deal with 3 or 4 cases which I know have been foisted, are false, or made up, when the 5th case comes and it may be a genuine case, I already have a mindset about these cases. And I will not be as sensitive to that 5th or 6th case because I already have this predetermined mind that, these cases are basically being filed to make someone go through a certain situation or to harass or whatever. So, which is why I feel that those of us women who are empowered and who don't really require the protection of these laws, please do not invoke these laws for the wrong reasons. Because there are thousands and lakhs of women who are out there who desperately need the protection of these laws. Please do not block the gates for them. That is the kind of responsibility we need to have. And let us not use these laws to harass. Because somewhere, as I said, there is a very slow but sure change of mindset in the male psyche. Let us not preempt that change from happening. Today, what we see is most of the divorces don't have to happen at all. It is very normal for a woman to be a little angry with her husband, and generally what women do is they go to their mother's place, and then the understanding is, okay, I will get over the phase, I'll come back after a week or after a day or whatever. Now, earlier situation was when the daughter-in-law of the house went to her maternal house, the family members of the husband would say, go, make it up with her and get her back. You know what's happening today? They are also overworked up, and with this overdrive of women's protection and laws, the first person they now go to is a lawyer. They, instead of going and getting back the daughter-in-law or the wife, they go to the lawyer and say, what should we do? Should we get an anticipatory bail? What is it that she can probably do? She will file a dowry harassment, she will file a sexual harassment. What are all the precautionary measures? And I have had any number of instances where I've said, please go and talk to her. She is not even probably thinking along these lines. Why are you jumping the gun? And very often my theory would be right. So why I'm saying this is, all this protection and awareness is becoming counterproductive somewhere. And the one unit which is greatly suffering is the family. Family and marriage are not the institutions that we used to know once upon a time. And marriage can break anytime. There's nothing called happily ever after. I don't think even the books are going to be writing happily ever after anymore. It's a very, very fluid situation. And family, which should have been a support structure, unfortunately today, we find family working as a divisive structure when it comes to couples, when it comes to a husband-wife relationship, because there is too much of negative interference from the family, and there are too many people getting carried away by so many other factors. So these are all things that we need to keep in mind. And very often, in fact, in mediation also, we call not just the husband and the wife, we call their families, because invariably we understand that it is the family which is drilling in ideas into these individuals. Left to themselves, they're very happy together as a couple, but there are so many pulls and pressures on them that invariably people tend to succumb. And when it comes to the family, when if there is a father or a brother involved, I'm not being gender biased over here, I'm just being realistic. We find that if there is the father or the brother or any male relative of the woman involved in the incident, they complicate the matter and make it an ego issue. Left to herself, the woman is not interested in any maintenance or money, but there is a father or a brother who says, why should you leave? Let him pay, let him know your worth, so get it. So that kind of situation also is happening. That is another thing we have to keep in mind. And when we come to a class distinction, what we find is women who belong to elite sections of society are the most harassed and victimized. as compared to the lower strata or the middle strata, contrary to what people would want to believe. I will tell you why. Because women in the elite sections of society are forced to be silent, because they are so bogged down by considerations like family honor, and there is so much of pressure to project to the world that it is a happy family, a picture perfect family. I really don't know what this picture perfect family is all about. Do we really have a picture perfect family? Everyone has their own set of issues, so I don't know why everyone is trying to project a different picture. So in the process of projecting a perfect family and a perfect marriage, a lot of women are going through a lot of mental illnesses, split personality disorders, a lot of these mental issues, which they're not even able to express to anyone, only because they are tied down by all these constraints of family loyalty. And then when we come to uh, when we come to certain judicial interpretations today, what we realize is a woman will be respected only if she has a economic status of her own, which is why all the proprietary rights are now being interpreted in a pro-woman manner. In fact, you must be also aware, recently there was a Supreme Court judgment which said that if the father of a family passes away, and if there is compensatory employment that has to be given, then it is not just the son of that deceased person, but a married daughter. A married daughter also is equally entitled to get compensatory employment of the deceased person, because what I really liked was the rationale behind it. The court said, just because a woman is married, she does not cease to be a member of her paternal or maternal family. She is still very much the daughter of the house. And we are also talking about duties of a daughter to her mother or her father here. So now we have evolved into a situation where we are not just talking about privileges and rights of women, we are also talking about certain duties that women have as daughters in the family. So now a married woman, she may be a part of her husband's family, but she's also very much a part of her father's family, and she also is equally responsible for whatever happens in her father's family. I thought that was a very, very proactive, gender neutral interpretation of the law. So now, I mean, there is a common saying, in our Indian psychology. Once a daughter is married, she's out of the family. To put it in Kannada, "Kothennu kulakke horge." Once you have married the daughter, she's out of the family. There ends her role. That doesn't happen anymore. In fact, there's another recent judgment of the Supreme Court which says a married woman can give her property back to her maternal or paternal relatives, and no one in the husband's family can stop her from doing that. So the sense of family through judicial interpretation is expanding to be not just the matrimonial family of the woman as it used to be earlier. It is now extending to including her maternal paternal family also. So family is one big unit. So now you cannot treat a daughter as an alien only because she is married. So as I said, it is wonderful to be a woman in India today. And I actually fear for the men, because gentlemen, it's a woman's world. I hope you realize it. And you really, really need to buck up to catch up with women, to make yourself relevant in the lives of a woman. Okay. So I think I will end with this. I have a few other things, but I think time is a constraint and I don't want to go beyond the time limit. On the occasion of Women's Day, this is what I have to tell all the lovely ladies here. Your destiny is in your hands, and you alone are the mistress of what you are going to be in your life. So you decide what it is that you have to be. And remember, miracles don't just happen. There is a lot of hard work and determination that make miracles happen. And as for the gentlemen, well, we want you to be not behind a successful woman, but very much hand in hand beside a successful woman. And just imagine a world if there is no woman in it. I hope you will find it boring enough to want women in your lives. On that note, happy International Women's Day to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts with you all. I hope we can have a little interactive session after this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for those inspiring words. Now, now we'd like to ask if any students have any questions that they want to pose to ma'am, or get any share any thoughts or ideas on the same as well. Please use the chat box for the same. Ma'am, if I may.
Yes.
We have a question from one of the participants here. It says, ma'am, the inadequacy of judges is the cliched excuse which the judiciary gives for their snail-like pace. Though nothing much can be done to reduce litigation, why aren't efforts being taken to increase the number of judges or increase the retirement age limit of the existing judges? What is the point of having laws when the courts are too burdened to deliver timely justice?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If you're speaking, you're not audible, ma'am.
It's a classic question. Academies that are training our judges, but as I said, the practical problem is we do not have too many youngsters going in for the post of a judge. We don't have too many people opting to become presiding officers. Earlier, we used to have a situation where even for about 50 posts, we had 2,000, 3,000 candidates applying for the post. But now we don't have that. We have a few hundreds because people don't seem to want to have to go through the kind of grind that a presiding officer has to go through while delivering justice as a presiding officer. That is one thing. So we are definitely having a dearth of quality and talent when it comes to entrance into the judicial office. And it is very well for us to say that this is not an excuse. But what is the solution? We do not have adequate candidates for the existing posts itself. Now, again, look at it. We are looking at qualitative justice. We cannot have anyone and everyone becoming a judge because it's someone's life, someone's destiny at your hands. So we need people who are qualified and trained. So which is why now we are trying to inspire the younger members of the bar to take up judiciary as an option. We really need good judges who will deliver. And it's not that our judicial officers are not tech savvy, they're not with the times. It is just the sheer number of cases, which is good from a overall perspective, because the more number of cases probably shows that the general public still has faith in the judicial process. But yes, this is a question where all of us are looking for answers. I really wish I could have given you a foolproof one.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We have another question. What were the expected skills which litigation expect from fresh law graduates? It helps the student to excel in that during college days itself and serve the society with even better from day one as a junior in litigation. So they're basically asking what the expected skills from a junior, a pass out, ma'am.
Well, that's a wonderful question, and I'm only too happy to answer. As I said, first and foremost, you need a passion and commitment for the profession, and you have to join the profession for the right reasons. And there is a grind that you have to go through, at least for the first 4 to 5 years in the profession. Forget vitamin M. Money is nowhere in the picture. You can get money. I mean, I know of youngsters who've made a crore or two in a year within 1 or 2 years of their coming into the profession. I need not tell you what measures and methods and means have been used. Hopefully, we are not looking at that kind of advocacy over here. Hopefully, we are still looking at ethic-based advocacy. So coming to the kind of skills, as I said, we are lawyers. We are not just lawyers in terms of officers of the court. We are also expected to be social engineers. So we need to feel the pulse of society. So for a person to be effective as a litigation lawyer, you need to understand what society is, what the actual problems faced by the individual common man is. And at the student level, it would be wonderful if you can engage yourself in some kind of NGO work where you're able to interact with grassroots individuals and understand their problems. Because finally, at the end of the day, as lawyers, we are bringing the ground reality into the court of law. The judges are depending on us to be that bridge, that connection between the common man and the judicial process. So it is so important that we understand ground realities and then interpret the laws. It should not be the other way around. In fact, today I feel we have a lopsided approach to litigation. All of us are so full of precedents and legislations and interpretations and concepts and doctrines that somewhere we are forgetting what the actual issue is. We are forgetting what the factual reality is. So an effective lawyer in today's world is one who is able to feel the pulse of the society, understand the ground realities, bring those ground realities to the court of law, interpret the law, and only when there is a confusion on the interpretation, bring in precedents. We find a number of brilliant law students who are very good at academic research, but when it comes to practical application, somewhere it is not translating into action. So, as I said, if you're willing to put in 48 into 24 into 7, you're most welcome. And please be passionate, please be committed. Everything will fall into place. And don't come with this attitude of, I know everything, because as a lawyer, we are learning till our last breath. Always be open to new ideas, always be open to sharing your knowledge. Everything will fall into place once you get into the profession.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Another very debatable and discussed issues in the contemporary world, that is, one of our students has asked me to share your views on marital rape and prenuptial agreements, ma'am.
Yes, marital rape. Now, there's something interesting I want to say. Marital rape would come under domestic violence, but we do not have marital rape per se being treated as a criminal offense as of now. In India, we have other countries where that concept is very much there. Prenup agreements are still not a concept as per our legislation, but we have some off the cuff instances where couples do get into prenuptial agreements. And as far as the enforceability of these agreements are concerned, it's just like any other agreements. Coming to the marital rape part of it, let me share with you a mindset that we noticed when the Domestic Violence Act came into effect. We had a substantial population within the lady advocate fraternity opposing Domestic Violence Act, and that's a little shocking. They said, see, it is very normal for for a woman to be for a woman to face a slap or a beating. Now everything will be interpreted as domestic violence. It will break down the family. Now this, I must say, was the mindset of a certain generation. And I remember the younger lot, I'm talking about 2005, this was the mindset. So the younger lot was a little shocked. And that is where we realized this concept of domestic violence itself did not exist or does not exist for a certain generation of our population. It is probably the younger lot which is thinking about it. So in this sort of a situation, if you're talking about marital rape, you must have come across this recent judgment where the Supreme Court said that, when a woman is married, then a husband has all rights on her. So you cannot interpret a few instances as rape because it's a husband-wife relationship. These are things that keep happening. See, this is the kind of sensitization I'm talking about. We still have a predominant stereotypical mindset as a society where so many things which probably for a Western world is unthinkable is still very much doable and very much normal in the Indian context. So as of now, if you're talking legally, marital rape does not have a separate expression by itself in our law. Prenuptial agreements can be enforced, but we do not have a separate law or provision talking about them. But yes, they are quite doable. We're in the experimenting stage.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Another question. And what would be your answer to a question that goes like, shouldn't the Domestic Violence Act be gender neutral?
I would say sexual harassment at workplace also should be gender neutral. As I said, Article 14 today is all about a hand-in-hand experience. It's not a man-woman or a woman versus man sort of a situation. But right now, I would rather allow the Domestic Violence Act to protect only the women, because women are going through quite a bit. And if you made it a gender neutral one, then I think the whole purpose of the legislation would be lost. And we already have a situation where men are playing one woman against the other. in the name of Domestic Violence Act. So we have situations where men are transferring all their assets to their mother's name, so that the wife cannot claim anything, because and if you go under domestic violence, it is another woman that you're going to be depriving of. But of course, now the Supreme Court has said that even a woman can be a respondent, and a wife can ask, as a matter of right, her right to shelter in the in-laws house, because somewhere even the judiciary is seeing through all these games. So as it is, women are being manipulated one way or the other by men under the Domestic Violence Act. I wouldn't want a gender neutral act right now. As far as sexual harassment is concerned, since I brought that up myself, there are a lot of private sector companies which have harassment laws or harassment policies which are gender neutral, and it is working out pretty fine. So at the end of the day, we again come back to the same situation, the same matter, which is mindsets and the urge to exploit rather than use a legislation. So as long as men are going to be thinking of playing one woman against the other, I don't think I would want domestic violence to be gender neutral.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Questions are being pouring in, and there's another question where a case where a woman was attacked with acid because the male ego was hurt, and the judgment of death penalty was reduced to just life imprisonment. What is your view about the same, and do you feel that the justice was denied to the victim, ma'am?
Yeah, here again, if you were to sit in the seat of a judge is supposed to have a comprehensive view of a matter. So we are, of course, it's a victim oriented approach when it comes to gender issues, especially acid victims. I mean, acid attack is absolutely not justifiable in any manner whatsoever. But without knowing the nitty-gritties of the case involved, without knowing the circumstances involved, there are instances of contributory negligence. There are instances where the woman would have instigated the perpetrator to act in a particular way. Whether there was one of the standard IPC defenses like grave and sudden provocation that was involved. So it would not be appropriate to comment on whether it was right or wrong without actually understanding the nitty-gritties of the case. But yes, acid victims cannot be treated as any other victim, and that act of attacking someone with acid is absolutely gruesome and unpardonable, goes without saying.
Agreed, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Another question here addressed to one of the part that you mentioned in your address as well. So a question that I'd like to rephrase. Do you feel that it is the legal literacy that women possess that makes them misuse the Domestic Violence Act in certain cases, or is it a genuine, effort to protect themselves?
See, I would not blame the women as such. There is always an advocate involved to guide the woman. Shall we leave it at that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
ma'am. Another final question, I believe, ma'am. It talks about conjugal rights. So the question goes as follows: is restitution of conjugal rights constitutionally valid? Doesn't it violate a woman's privacy and her strength to take a decision?
That's a brilliant question. Yes. As per law, restitution of conjugal rights is very much a justiciable right. And we do have orders where the court feels that the grounds quoted are not strong enough for a decree of divorce to be granted. And invariably, if the other side has filed for restitution, restitution is ordered. Now, no court can force a woman to go back to someone she is not happy to live with. So, though there is a court order, there's nothing called an execution of a restitution order. Because if you look into the Hindu Marriage Act, especially, in spite of a restitution order, if a couple don't stay together for a year, that itself becomes a ground for divorce. So, family and marriage are institutions where law and courts have a very, very minimal role to play. In fact, these issues should not be technically coming to the courts of law at all, because we're talking about sentiments, we're talking about human relationships, and no one can enforce anyone on anyone. So, coming to that question, as per law, yes, constitutionally, a restitution order is valid. But when it comes to implementation, the courts do not force a woman, because we don't want a woman going and getting herself victimized or feeling suffocated or tortured. We just say your grounds are not good enough for divorce, so therefore a restitution order is passed. Now, if a woman does not want to go back to her husband, no one can force her to do so.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for those inspiring words and wonderful answers, ma'am. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to call upon our respected Vice Principal, Professor Vijay Pranishwaran, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much.
At the outset, I would, on behalf of CMR University School of Legal Studies, on behalf of our Dean and faculty and all our students, gives me immense pleasure in thanking Honorable Mrs. Justice Uma for having joined us and making time. I think today is a working day there at Dharwad bench. In spite of it, she joined us and gave her inputs on the Women's Day and enumerating the various laws wherein the concept of gender justice and justice to women has been enumerated. Thank you very much, Lordship, for having, again, the use of the word Lordship should be gender neutral. Or should I be ladyship? That apart, the intention and the emotion is very clear. We are really thankful to her for joining us. And in fact, Dean, that was the inability expressed that because it was a sitting day. Otherwise, in spite of it, she joined us. We are very grateful and thankful to Madam for joining us. Thank you very much, Madam. We are also grateful and thankful to Mrs. Anu Changapa for giving the keynote address on this day and giving a different perspective about the concept of gender justice and how it should not be misused and how it should be made available to the women, or how women who are actually in need of such laws should be helped to make use of it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Anu Changapa, and also the string of questions and very aptly answered, not taking sides and being very objective. Thank you very much. We are also thankful to our beloved Dean, Dr. Subramanya, for being instrumental in organizing and being instrumental in creating this center, and also presiding over today's celebration of Women's Day. Thank you very much, sir. We're also thankful to the coordinator, Dr. Valamati, for having organized this event, all the faculty, and most important, the students. What is the takeaway is, as being law students, we should treat everybody, everybody, the man, the woman, and the woman, the man, equal in terms of law, and treat them for what they are and not for what their gender is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. With this, we have come to the end of this event. I would like to take this opportunity once again to thank everyone for being here and gracing the celebration with your presence. Thank you so much.